Buying Bitcoin at 85K should be the easiest decision you'll ever make in your life. And here's why. By far the most common reason why people don't invest in Bitcoin is because of the risk. But as Michael Saylor says in this next clip, the risk is pretty much entirely gone at this point.
This is kind of a historic entry point because all of the risk has been stripped off the asset. Like, you pretty much know Wall Street's going to embrace it, the U.S. government's going to embrace it, and banks in the U.S. going to embrace it, which means that all the other banks will embrace it. You already know all those things, and yet the market is really skittish based upon concerns about tariffs, the disposition of the U.S. economy, the interest rate forward graph. And so you see the interest rates have pulled in 30, 40, 50 basis points, and we're in this macro risk off zone. When that flips, I think Bitcoin will rip forward with a vengeance.
Not only has Wall Street embraced Bitcoin, but it's become the most successful ETF launch of all time. Not only that, but BlackRock, the largest money manager in the entire world, along with other huge institutions, are trying to bring more Bitcoin exposure to their clients and play a role in the future of Bitcoin in the United States, as explained by the head of digital assets at BlackRock.
And I'm talking to some of the most sophisticated long-term Bitcoin accumulators. They're pretty excited about this dip. They see this as a buying opportunity. They certainly don't look at economic headwinds and say that's bad for Bitcoin. They say that's probably a catalyst for Bitcoin.
Well, to be fair, they are always pretty.
That's true. That's true. But some of them, we're taking chips off the table a little bit in the hundreds, and now they see this correction, and a lot of them view it as sort of an irrational sell-off based on short-term factors. I don't know whether that's true or not, but certainly there's a lot yet to be sort of understood and processed about this asset and how people think about it from a risk-return perspective and in a portfolio, and how the correlation should play out over the long run. So we're trying to play a role in that. Lots of other financial institutions that have come into this space are trying to bring some quantitative rigor to that as well.
So surely, if it's being accepted by Wall Street and the largest asset money managers in the entire world, that should settle any concerns or risks in the future of Bitcoin. But if that's not enough, just remember it's the only asset in the last 50 years that's been endorsed by the President of the United States.
The only asset endorsed by a President of the United States in 50 years is Bitcoin. I mean, Go back in the last 200 years in the history of the country. And I think if you go to the Founding Fathers, they wrote in the Constitution that money is silver and gold coin. And then at some point, there was a chicken in every pot. And maybe with the founding of Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac, we endorsed everybody to single-family home ownership. But in the 21st century, you have just one asset, Bitcoin. The president saying, don't sell your Bitcoin, saying more than that, saying the United States won't sell its Bitcoin. And so everything else you put your client into, if the U.S. government seized any other security that you sold to a client, if they seized any collectible, any art, any real estate, they would sell it. The only thing that the U.S. government won't sell if they are to seize it is Bitcoin.
So not only is it endorsed by the president of the largest economy in the entire world, but they also want to buy as much Bitcoin as they possibly can. Listen to this next clip from Trump's executive director.
Well, we delivered on the president's promises that he made on the campaign trail. The president was adamant about creating the SBR. We wanted to make sure that we did it right in a way that respected Bitcoin for being so unique. And also gave credence to innovation in other spaces of the digital asset world. So, for us here, we look at Bitcoin, it's not a security, it's a commodity. It has intrinsic stored value that's traditionally accepted. It has, as David likes to describe, the immaculate conception. There's no issuer. And, that's why, as you saw in the executive order, we compared this to digital gold. It's something that's imperative for the United States to have, retain, continue to build on. And I think that's worth pointing out that, the way that this is constructed, we talked about ways of acquiring more Bitcoin in budget neutral ways that won't cost the taxpayer a dime. And what I like to say about this president, I think it's high time that our president started accumulating assets for the American people, which is what President Trump is doing, rather than taking it away. And I think that's one thing that we really wanted to make clear in this executive order. And we're looking forward to working with our partners at Treasury and the Secretary of Commerce in order to find those budget-neutral ways in which we can acquire more. You know, I've been asked all the time, it's like, how much do you want? And I said, well, that's like asking a country, how much gold do you want, right? I mean, as much as we can get.
So after all that, if you're still not bullish on Bitcoin, please let me know why in the comments. It's probably a completely illogical reason, but I want to read it anyway. If you enjoy the video, please like and subscribe. I'll keep you guys updated on everything crypto.